Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today I just want to share with you how I ended up spending my Christmas. So I hope that everyone has enjoyed their Christmas holiday and I want to share with you how I spent mine. So I decided about 3 years ago to not celebrate Christmas anymore. Both because it's not something that's really that important to me. It's not something I've, has some significant meaning to me, but also because I had to take care of my health. And for me, Christmas has, since I've been a grown-up and have more responsibility, it's really been a stress factor for me, both financially but also mentally. And I just decided that since it's not really good for my mental health and it doesn't really has any significant meaning to me, it just for me it just didn't make sense to celebrate Christmas the traditional way anyway. And I had a few years where I honestly was just home Christmas Eve. I didn't really do anything other than just being in my own company and enjoying that, eating something I like to eat or whatever. But now that I am doing better and I'm less anxious to be around people and everything, I decided to volunteer to celebrate Christmas Eve with some patients in the local hospital we have, where I also go with my Crohn's disease. So that's what I did, and that was just last night actually. For 4 hours I was celebrating Christmas with some patients who have had, it was women because it was at the, I don't actually know what you would call that department, but the like for gynecology, I suppose, and the people who were there who was too sick to go home had just been operated for cancer. So in their uterus and ovaries or something in that regard. So we went, and that was my first time volunteering. And I just have to say, it was the most amazing Christmas Eve for many reasons that I've ever had. First of all, because originally, or that's at least what we're told, Christmas was about love. It was about loving thy neighbor. It was about being generous and giving and thinking of the ones who had less than you and la 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 and so on. So for me, in modern society, everything is just about spending. It's just one big spending party, and people are buying each other stuff that we don't really need, and just so we can have more material things. It just doesn't make any sense. And I love that spending this time with these patients last night and their relatives, or some of them. For me, that was what Christmas is really about. Doing something good for others and making a difference. For me, that makes much more sense. And I think, it's a way greater gift to give to someone than giving someone an iPad or whatever. Like it just makes so much more sense. So it was a very beautiful experience. A little, it was the first time, and I had someone there with me. We were two in this department, and it was both, for both of us, it was like the first time. So it was a little bit awkward because it was like, okay, we just need to figure out what to do. And it's very different from volunteering in other places because this is sick patients, and the hospital sends as much people home Christmas Eve as they can, just for the evening or for the night, and then they come back. But everyone that they feel it's safe to let them go home and spend Christmas and then come back to the hospital, they send them home. But there are very few patients where that's not the case. They are too sick to go home, or they just had an operation, something that makes them unable to go home. And they had only 4 patients that couldn't go home. I want to share a few of the experiences I had. There was this younger couple, which was really sad. It was very clear that they were not, I want to guess that they were in their 40s, and the woman had cancer, or have cancer, and had been, had an operation for that. And they actually were really private. They weren't really that interested in us being there. So we just went in and introduced ourselves and gave them some Christmas candy. And we came back later with this company that makes lamps, Le Klimp, a Danish company. They had donated presents for the patients, which was really beautiful. So we went back and gave them the present, and that was kind of it with them, because they were just, I don't know, they wanted to be by themselves, and that's something you should also respect. It was just sad to see someone so young go through that. And then there was this other patient who was also a nice older lady who couldn't go home for a few weeks, and her family was coming to visit, but when we introduced ourselves, they hadn't come yet. They came while we were there, but we were talking to her, and it was really, really sweet, because we told her that, we would love to talk to her, and if there's anything she needs, we would love to do that. If she wants to come have Christmas dinner with us, anything like that. And she was like, oh, well, I'm not that sentimental, it's just the way it is, and my family's coming. She was like, I don't want to be a burden, kind of a thing. And she ended up, before her family came, she ended up telling us like her whole story about what she was going through before they marched in. And they were just, and her relatives were so happy to see that someone had been talking to, their wife, mother, grandmother, mother-in-law. And she actually ended up giving us, we came back with the present later for her, and she actually ended up giving us some chocolates as a thank you. Even though we hadn't spent that much time with her, because she was, because her family had been there and she was really tired afterwards and stuff. So we hadn't been there that much, but she ended up giving us chocolates because it's just, she thought we were so sweet. It was so nice. Then there was this other lady who were really, really tired. She had just had her operation the day before, I believe, and she was on like a lot of pain medicines, and so she was not that fresh either. So, but we did talk to her, and she really enjoyed talking to us, and and we also came back with a present, but but I think, so overall that was just great experiences. But I think the one that touched me the most was this elder couple where the wife had surgery for cancer. And back in 2014, my grandmother died from cancer, not the same type of cancer, but from cancer. And the thing was, they came from a different part of the country, and that sounds very, very, very extreme for some of you, but let me point out, Denmark is not that big a country, so it's quite normal that if some hospitals in certain area of the country are fully booked, they will ship the patients. That sounds a little, but they will transfer the patients to other hospitals in Denmark, because we're such a small country, so it's quite realistic to do so. And they came from a different part of the country, and none of their relatives had the opportunity to come for different reasons. The thing is, the husband, he reminded me so much of my grandfather, and how my grandfather was, and what my grandfather was going through, and my grandmother was, fighting cancer. And his wife was really quick, because we asked if they thought, do you want to have Christmas dinner with us? Are you up for that? And she was like, the wife said to her husband, you should do that. You should do that. Like, you should do that. I'm just tired anyway. You should go have a good talk and have Christmas dinner. And so we ended up, me and my volunteer partner, we ended up having Christmas dinner with him and had a really great talk. And it was, he even said, like, when we sat down, he even raised his glass and he was like, cheers and thank you for taking your time to come and sit with me. And it's like, of course. And he started telling stories about life. It was very clear, and it was just their love story was tragic and beautiful at the same time. It really moved me a lot. He told us that his wife and both of them had lost their spouses back in the 90s. They had both had spouses that passed away back then, and for different reasons. And then in about 2000, they found each other, and they had been together ever since. So that's for 23 years. And I don't know, there was something incredibly beautiful about two people who go through something as horrible as losing your spouse relatively young. They would have been middle-aged at that time. And then being able to find someone that you end up being with for 23 years and hopefully many more. I hope she's going to be okay and they can have more time together. That was such a beautiful love story. And I really hope that, you know, that I can find that someday. Because that man, they, you know, in the hospital they have this patient hotel, they call it. And he was staying there, and he went with her to everything, and he was holding her hand. And I don't know, I guess that's something I would love. I would just love to have that in my life. I'm happy single. It's not really like that, but I find it really hard to find people like that today. Find people where it's a partnership and they appreciate you and they go all the way with you. So they don't just leave you because you become sick or something. You know, they stick it out and they hold your hand and you know, are willing to do anything for you. I want that, and I won't settle for less. And it was just a beautiful story, and it really touched me. It really touched me that people like them exist, because it was so clear that they loved each other so much and they appreciated each other so much, and they would go through anything together. And yeah, and he was just such a nice man, telling us about his story and what he had worked with. And yeah, and the most beautiful part was that, you know, it was so clear that he was just enjoying talking to someone who's not a nurse, not a doctor, or healthcare professional in general, who is not his wife who is sick. Not that he doesn't want to talk to her, but she's obviously sick, right? He really just enjoyed having a meal and talking to someone else and having more focus on him as well, because obviously everything is about his wife right now, as it should be. But I think it was really nice for him to talk a little bit about himself and how he was doing, and telling us about their life together. And it was just, for him, that meant everything. That we wanted to come and spend our Christmas Eve talking to him, and also the other people that was stuck in the hospital Christmas Eve, of course. But like it was so clear that he just thought that we were sent from heaven, and that, you know, he was so appreciative and grateful that we came. And I made sure to tell him that I really enjoyed it too. Like we had a nice talk. Like I really enjoyed it. And, you know, when we came a little later into their room with the present that they had gotten, you know, he shook our hands and said, "Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure." And that just means so much. And all of them were like that. It was just, he was just very expressive in the way he showed gratitude. Some people, you can see it in their eyes. You can see it, or they, you know, like the older lady who said she wasn't sentimental, and then she starts telling her whole story. You can tell, that told me that she really appreciated us. But he was just so direct about it. He was so, "Thank you so much." And his wife was like, "Thank you so much for spending some time with my husband." And they were just I don't know, that couple really had an impact on me somehow. I don't know, I think for the first time in my life, I really experienced what Christmas is really all about. That's the first Christmas I've ever had where I felt like it was actually Christmas. And not because I haven't had great Christmases in my life, not at all, but it just, I felt like this is what it's all about. That's what Christmas is about. Reminding the world of peace and love and you know, doing something that's more important than yourself, right? Doing something more greater than you, something that's bigger than you. Yeah, I think it's the first Christmas Eve I've ever had that really made sense to me, that really, where I felt like it was the Christmas spirit that actually came to play. It was a beautiful Christmas Eve, even though it wasn't a hospital, and you know, there's only so much a hospital can do to be cozy. But they had decorations and stuff. It was really nice. I think it's hard for me actually to put it into word what it meant to me, but it really had a significant impact on how I don't know. It was like, for the first time I was doing what Christmas was all about. And I really enjoyed that. And I would love to be volunteer, like, you know, maybe a few hours a week in the hospital, but I can't do that because I simply don't have the energy for that. You know, I am sick myself and I do have a job. So, you know, I can't do that. But I think that's how I'm gonna spend my Christmases from now on. It's such a special night for many people, and it's just so sad that you can't go home to be with your family. You know, you're sick and you're admitted to the hospital and you can't go home and celebrate Christmas. That's just like adding salt to the wound. And the nurses that was at work, you know, they were really, really nice too. It also gives you a little more faith in the healthcare professionals, to meet some nurses who were just so engaged and so jolly. They were really trying to be jolly with the patients and with us, and you know, they were loving and caring, and that was also kind of good for me as a patient myself to see that, you know, of course they exist, the healthcare professionals who actually cares and who actually wants to make a difference, and who do not complain about working at Christmas Eve, and they just want to make it as good as possible for the patients, which can be hard because they are working as well, and that's where the volunteers come in. But it's just really nice to see. Everybody was so sweet. It was like almost a spiritual experience for me. It felt really amazing to do something that is just so much bigger than myself, and make a difference with someone. So I just wanted to make this video and just talk a little bit about my unbelievably, surprisingly spiritual Christmas Eve I had, and the first Christmas Eve I've had ever where I really felt like I was, you know, doing what you're supposed to do in Christmas time. The Christmas spirit was with me. And I will see you all in the new year. 2024 is coming. It's crazy. So, but yes. So have a blessed rest of the day, and have a really great New Year's Eve. And be careful with all the fireworks and all that. Please, I want to see all of you back here with all of your fingers and everything after the New Year's. So yeah, take good care of yourself. Bye.